Part 91. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 908. Seeing that a third person actually appeared in the attic, someone he didn't recognize at all, the iron-armed ghost was completely stunned. My mind is buzzing. The wisdom in his eyes disappeared without a trace, and was replaced by confusion. No. How the hell did you show up here? Isn't all this a drama directed and staged by the conspiracy ghost and the thing ghost, just to kill him? Why is it so weird that a stranger appears? For a while, the iron-armed ghost was speechless. A confused posture of who am I, where am I, and what am I going to do? But he also vaguely knew that he seemed to have done something stupid. The other side. Seeing Shenjian really appear, the conspirator's pupils shrank. There was also a storm in my heart. Although he was basically certain that there was an unseen third party in the attic, he still couldn't help but feel frightened when he saw the other party actually appearing. Nothing else. When this man appeared, he still couldn't detect any supernatural reaction. To know. This is a ghost land. It is also a large ghost realm jointly constructed by 3 ghosts and gods. Even if a fly flies in, it cannot escape their perception. But now, a big living person appeared in front of them, but they could find nothing. If it wasn't visible to the naked eye, they would even suspect it was fake. Such a method is simply terrifying. Who are you? What do you want to do? The conspirator's eyes rolled and his lips parted. A pale ghost face was full of suspicion. Because he compared his appearance and found that this strange man was neither the president of the 100 Ghosts Association, nor the master of the Rebirth Pavilion, nor the palace master of the Yinshan Palace. But a newcomer who has never shown up in the bloody city. Abruptly, he suddenly thought of something. Are you a world-destroying ghost god who came from another deep ghost realm? As soon as these words came out, the shock made the scalps of the other 2 people numb. Grass. He is truly a world-destroying ghost and god. This is already the 4th world-destroying ghost and god to appear in the bloody city. How could he allow so many terrifying beings to gather in such a small bloody city? When you gods fight, don't bring disaster to Chiu. Hear this. Shenjian raised his eyebrows slightly. You are very thoughtful. Do you like the meeting gift I gave you? This is a stage show of brotherhood and brotherhood specially designed for you. Most people don't have this opportunity. Conspirator. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. What a gift from God. Gifts can bring people down to earth, but don't make them down to earth. Do we have to thank you for planning this killing for us? Seemingly noticing the other person's grinding of teeth, Shenjian smiled and waved his hand. No need to be polite to me, we are brothers in our hearts. When the word brother comes out of your mouth, something seems wrong. What exactly do you want to do? With your level of terror, you should be a large-scale supernatural master in other deep-level ghost realms. What's the benefit of teasing us like this? The conspirator was a little embarrassed in his heart, but he still maintained a friendly expression on the surface. Do you need a purpose to fool people? Shenjian tilted his head and said something that made the 3 of them want to jump up and hit him on the knee. Then he raised the corner of his mouth and said, Okay, let's get down to business. I told you that I came here specifically to give you a gift. Starting today, I officially become the president of the Black Dragon Association and unify your 4 branches. Is there any problem? Hear this. The 3 of them all stared at Shenjian with very different eyes. They looked at me and I looked at you, their eyes clearly saying, where do you have the nerve to say this? If it weren't for you, how could we be in such a miserable state now? How dare you say the words of becoming the president of the Black Dragon Society without any psychological burden? You are so shameless, you must have welded the iron door shut. Why? Subconsciously. The iron-armed ghost shouted. His eyes were full of shame and anger. Ashamed that he didn't trust his brother. Frightened and angry that Shen Jian planned a sword fight between their brothers. This question is basically no thought. Within a tenth of a second after Shen Jian spoke, there was a sound. Shen Jian glanced at him. He smiled and said, "Just look at your stomach and you will know." Iron-armed ghost? He was slightly startled. After his two hands were dismembered, he used the ghost realm to remove his stomach. Only 2 lines of words were written on the organ. The Black Dragon is rising, a new leader is established, King Shen Jian. Iron-armed ghost. Conspirator. Slender ghost. See this. They all couldn't stand it anymore. Damn it. What you're doing is a bit coquettish. What? Want to have the divine right of kings? But our Black Dragon Society doesn't have the throne for you to inherit. What do you like about us? Can't we change it? For a while. The 3 of them can't stand it. I really don't understand what Shen Jian's purpose is in targeting their Black Dragon Club. At this time, the conspirator also said weakly, once the Black Dragon Society is unified, it will inevitably set off a discussion in the Bloody City, and the eyes of overlord forces such as Yinshen Palace will also be cast on it, which will be very detrimental to development. And if you airborne directly, below people will also be dissatisfied. Shen Jian waved his hand, "It doesn't matter, because I have already killed all these people, and there are only a few of us left in the Black Dragon Guild. As long as you agree." The 3 of them were shocked. Damn it! What the hell do you mean? What does it mean to be complete? What does it mean that there are only a few of us left in the Black Dragon Society? What else did you do? It won't be what we imagined. A series of doubts lingered in their minds. To this, Shen Jian ignored it. Is there anything else you want to know? Tell me all together and I will deal with it directly. Shen Jian still had that smiling expression. But the 3 conspirators only felt an endless chill. It seemed that as long as they raised one more layer of concerns, the other party would dare to attack them directly. Immediately, the 3 of them stopped talking. He shouted, "I've met the new president." At the same time, the scarlet panels rose simultaneously. Random mission, integrate the Black Dragon Society, completed. See this. There was a look of satisfaction on Shen Jian's face. Really? This is much more efficient. If he really waited for all the members of the Black Dragon Association to not object before accepting him as the new president, then the daylily would be cold. On the contrary. Now he only needs to change the attitudes of the 3 vice presidents, and the task will be completed automatically. After all, including Shen Jian, there are only 5 people in the Black Dragon Society today. The other 4 have agreed. Who should he not be the president of? Very good. Don't get inked. Recover quickly. Tomorrow you will sign up for the martial arts competition in the name of the Black Dragon Club. If you can't finish it, you can come and see us. Shen Jian's voice was faint, revealing the dangerous meaning that freezes the heart. Just looking at it makes people's hair stand on end without daring to refute at all. The same is true for the 3 conspirators. Trembling with fear, I didn't dare to take a breath. But they finally knew that this man's purpose in joining their Black Dragon Society was actually for the martial arts competition. In that conference, weren't the 100 demons fishing? Everyone knows that the 100 demons will use a captured world-destroying ghost and god as bait for the conference to catch people with ulterior motives. And in the entire Bloody City, there is no doubt that the target that the 100 demons can use this method is Rebirth Pavilion. The captured world-destroying ghost and god must be very important to the Rebirth Pavilion. Many people are even speculating that the captured world-destroying ghost god is actually the master of the Rebirth Pavilion. For this statement, the Black Dragon Society internally scoffed. Because the destruction of the Black Dragon Society was most likely caused by the Rebirth Pavilion. If the president had not offended this mysterious pavilion master and was directly photographed to death at the headquarters of the Black Dragon Society, and then ransacked, how could the Black Dragon Society be like this today? Therefore, they have met the master of the past life pavilion. He also clearly knew how terrifying the mysterious master was. This is definitely not the type that the Hayaki Club can arrest. Think of this. The conspirator hesitated for a while, but finally tried to dissuade him. President, this conference is probably a trap specifically targeted at the pavilion master of the past life pavilion, and the captured world-destroying ghost and god should also be with the past life pavilion. There is some kind of special relationship with the pavilion. Even if you, the president, can overwhelm the others, you will still not be able to take the bride away in the end, and you will face the target of two overlord-level forces at the same time. He said it more cryptically. But the meaning is very clear: whoever takes away the bride will have to face the attack of two overlord-level forces at the same time. Even if you are also a world-destroying level, you still can't take advantage of it, and you may also cause a lot of trouble, and you will not be able to escape unscathed. Shen Jian was non-committal. He wanted to participate in the martial arts competition, partly to get close contact with this group of people who were suspected of being from the underworld, and partly to bring glory to the ghosts and gods. In his opinion, the glorious ghosts and gods are as difficult to deal with as the eldest princess Aina Ya. Because of the supernatural influence, the eldest princess is somewhat resistant to the people around her. She thinks that everyone will lie and it is difficult to truly get into her heart. As for the glorious ghost and god, he has experienced too much and has too much life experience, and he has two completely different personalities from the princess. It is difficult to capture such a person. Even if he knows the other person's little quirks and is deliberately catering to these interests, this can at most increase his goodwill, but cannot completely defeat him. But now there is an opportunity to increase the intimacy between the two. How could he let it go? The trap is good. The greater the crisis, the more points he can operate. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Bulletin Chigua. Chapter 909. The next day. The Bloody City. On this day, the situation changed and the undercurrent surged. Because today is the day when the contest for marriage is officially held. Crowded. Everyone knows that the 100 Ghosts, the leader of the 3 overlord-level forces in the Bloody City, worked together to suppress a world-destroying ghost and god from other deep-level ghost realms, and used it as a prize for the winner of the martial arts competition. As long as he can stand to the end, he can be the groom and the husband of a world-destroying ghost and god. Under such a gimmick that shocked the whole Luo Fengtian, countless ghosts showed their coveted eyes. One after another, they took the initiative to join the major forces just to obtain a quota for the competition. Certainly, most of those who dare to sign up have 2 skills. Among this type of contestants, a small number of them really want to become grooms, but more of them are actually greedy for the body of a world-destroying ghost or god. This body is not that body. They dare not even think about possessing world-destroying ghosts and gods and enjoying the pleasures of fish and water. But they were able to dismember one of the opponent's organs and eat the rich parts of their yin energy to increase their own level of terror. This is what most contestants really think. Dismember part of the ghost body, and then escape as far away as possible. With such greedy thoughts, the heroes gathered together. Central Square. An arena was set up here. On the arena, supernatural fluctuations spread, revealing mountains that were completely different from the city. Apparently, this is a ghost land. Only by stepping into it can you know how big the competition arena is. Located on both sides of the arena are 2-story pavilions that are clustered together. The top is divided into boxes. Every box represents a big force. Looking at the entire bloody city, there are not many such big forces, only about a dozen. The Black Dragon Society is one of them. Shen Jian sat in the box and scanned the scene. Around him, the iron-armed ghost, the conspiracy ghost, and the thing ghost stood aside in awe, not even daring to sit down. Such a scene attracted the attention of many people. That was, the former overlord of the bloody city, the Black Dragon Society. I heard that this force had fallen apart a long time ago, but I didn't expect it to pop up again now. Who is that person sitting in that position? What a grand gesture. He actually has 3 ghosts and gods standing there. He can reach the level of ghosts and gods. He must be a high-level person at least. This is too humble. I don't understand. I heard that the Black Dragon Society has been integrated and has a new president. That man should be the new president. He can make the 3 ghosts and gods so obedient. It seems that his skills are quite good. I don't know what the promise was that made them willing to do this. The rustling sounds of discussion continued. They are all talking about this rather unfamiliar president of the Black Dragon Society. The words are full of surprise. After all, for the old people in the bloody city, the name Black Dragon Society was very popular in the past. Even if it declines in the future, its name will still be resounding. It is not easy for Shen Jian to become the new president of the Black Dragon Society. They were really curious about what conditions Shen Jian promised to make the 3 ghosts and gods choose to join forces again to reorganize the Black Dragon Society. The 3 iron-armed ghosts. They all twitched their mouths. What conditions were promised? Does letting them live count? Don't even guess. Anyway, no one would suspect that this devil broke into their home in the middle of the night, created barriers between them, killed each other, and then came out to threaten and lure them. Most of them are tears. Think of this. They want to cry but have no tears. No matter how angry you are, you can only break your teeth and swallow it in your stomach. Aside. The beggar ghost looked at the once unattainable vice president of Sanwei with some pity, then his attitude changed, and he smiled like a dogleg and said, "Brother, I got the information, a big thing happened last night, the 100 Ghost Club the station was attacked, and it was suspected that the Sheng Pavilion was looking for something, but nothing happened in the end. Some people speculate that the Goshen Pavilion intends to rob the suppressed world-destroying ghost and god. Unfortunately, the 100 Ghosts Association has been prepared for it and moved it to an unknown place. I estimate that there will be another action in the Goshen Pavilion today. This competition there may be changes at the conference." His face was serious. He expressed his speculation. In fact, many people knew about the fishing behavior of the 100 Ghost Club, but he never expected that the Goshen Pavilion would be so determined to openly attack the headquarters of the 100 Ghost Club. This is undoubtedly a provocation to the other party and wants to start a civil war in the bloody city. It is conceivable that the suppressed world-destroying level ghost and god held a very important weight in the heart of the Rebirth Pavilion, so important that they would not even hesitate to start a full-scale war. If he hadn't known that the master of the Pavilion of Rebirth was not the world-destroying ghost and god, he would have really suspected that the 100 ghosts who would suppress him would be the master of the Pavilion of Rebirth. Otherwise, how could it have attracted such a swift and violent attack from the Pavilion of Purity? Hear the words. Shen Jian's eyes were playful. They all regard the glorious ghosts and gods as the suspected heirs of the underworld. It's strange that those people are not in a hurry. Judging from the current situation, it is still unclear what the position of the Rebirth Pavilion is, but the position of the 100 Ghost Society is definitely on the opposite side of the underworld. Otherwise, how could the glorious ghosts and gods suspected of being the heirs of the underworld be imprisoned? To be honest, he was also quite curious as to why the evil Ghost King wanted to stand on the opposite side of the underworld. Do you feel that the underworld can no longer lift the sword, or do you feel that you can already dominate the underworld? Or, is it related to the Buddhist kingdom? Thoughts are spinning. A strange smile flashed across Shen Jian's face. At this time, a burst of exclamations broke out from the ghost tide. Shen Jian glanced away. In the pavilion opposite, a ghost realm spread suddenly on the first floor, and then ghost figures appeared one after another and sat in the largest box. They were a group of beasts with bare upper bodies, red hair and fangs, ferocious and vicious creatures that looked like yaksha ghosts. Every one of them is surging with ghost-level supernatural fluctuations. There are more than 10 statues in total. Especially the leader, the red-haired yaksha, who is sitting on the main seat, with a scar from his chest to his back printed on his naked upper body. The yin-chi fluctuations on his body are infinitely close to those of real-world destroying ghosts and gods. There is a bronze bell hanging on his waist. Brother, that is the 100 Ghosts Association. The leader is the vice president of the 100 Demons Association, who calls himself the Dazeo Ghost King. The other 9 also use the suffix Ghost King and are the real core figures of the 100 Demons Association. Now they are all those who come out are not good. The beggar ghost explained in time. Shen Jian's eyes darkened. There was a strange color in his eyes. With the suffix Ghost King, there is no doubt that these 10 ghosts and gods are all members of the group of Ghost Kings, one of the top 10 sinister figures. The soul-suppressing bell, which represents the Ghost King's exclusive underworld weapon, is the best proof. Looking at it this way, plus how many evil Ghost Kings there are only 11 Yin-Shui who survived. Then why are there no traces of other sinister figures such as Black and White Impermanence, Day and Night Wandering God, and bull-headed and horse-faced figures? All dead? Shen Jian pondered for a moment. Fingers tapped on the arm of the chair. The top 10 evil commanders, in layman's terms, are expatriates from the underworld, who need to go in and out of the underworld and the human world to bring back the souls of the dead. According to the information he knew, after the underworld disappeared, no one could enter the underworld and could only stay in the human world. The horror game invaded the human world again at this time point, madly pulling the people belonging to the underworld into the horror world, and using the human sea tactic to kill a large number of city gods. Now it seems that it was not only the city god who was consumed to death, but also the 10 evil commanders who were stranded in the world were also pulled into the horror world, and were completely submerged in the tens of thousands of ghosts. But why is it that only the Ghost King group survives? There are soul-shaking hammers and soul-suppressing gongs, which means that there are also day and night wandering gods who were pulled into the 5th Luo Feng Tian. But in the end, all the other Yin commanders were killed, and only the Ghost King survived and was still in the 5th Luo Feng Tian. Feng Tian established a large supernatural place. Now he is imprisoning the suspected heir to the underworld. What capital do they have to betray the underworld? Thinking. The dim light in Shen Jian's eyes deepened. Eyes moving. It's all cold and gloomy. The members of the Hayaki Club who were sitting opposite were all trembling with excitement. There is a great fear of being targeted by a terrifying being in the dark. Even the Ghost King Dazeo couldn't help but change his expression. A pair of ghostly eyes scanned the competition site. Unfortunately, nothing gained. But that sense of voyeurism like a gleam on the back lingers for a long time. Is this feeling of coldness caused by the stubborn old woman Meng Po's eyes? A ghost couldn't help but lower his voice. Impossible. If Po Meng had really come, that evil guy would have come out long ago. Isn't what we are doing now just to force Po Meng out? But this look always makes me feel like I'm being watched by the King of Hell. Shut up, the underworld is gone, let alone the King of Hell. It's not like you haven't seen the situation where Luo Fengtian's authority was broken more than a year ago. Now the underworld has just recovered. Not to mention the King of Hell, it doesn't matter whether there is a judge or not. Must. Dazeo Ghost King shouted. Covering up the instinctive fear brought about by hearing the two familiar names Underworld and King of Hell in his heart. Betraying the underworld and imprisoning the suspected heir to the underworld was definitely the boldest and most exciting thing he had ever done in his life. Observe the surroundings carefully and wait for Po Meng to show up. In the past, she went to look for the illusory last place of Luo Fengtian and couldn't catch it, but now, Luo Fengtian's authority is broken, which indicates that the underworld has successfully recovered and the heir to the underworld has appeared. She no longer dares to walk around, and now she must be hiding somewhere in Luo Fengtian. She already tried last night not to capsize in the gutter. Ghost King Dazao continued to give instructions. The face that looks like a yaksha demon is full of ferocity and gloom. But through this ferocious appearance, one can still see the fear and nervousness that the other party carefully concealed. The other side. Shen Jian grinned. A strong smile appeared on his face. Moods rise and fall. It's really MRS Mang. If there were uncertain thoughts before, this is proof now. He didn't know Po Meng. But how could the former underworld still not recognize Po Meng? From what the other party said, he knew that Po Meng was in Luo Fengtian, the 5th place, but she had hidden her whereabouts. In this way, we are getting closer and closer to unlocking the last 6 realms of reincarnation. Just thinking about it? Abruptly, a sharp roar sounded below the ring. I want to challenge the president of the Black Dragon Association. Come down if you dare. Whoever wins will be able to embrace the beauty. Shen Jian. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 910. Chapter 902 True Artistic Photo. In the arena. The whole audience looked like they were watching a good show. Watching the thin figure walking onto the ring. Shen Jian also cast his gaze over. I saw a skinny figure with atrophied muscles slowly raising his head, and his sharp mouth full of fangs kept rubbing together, making a piercing sound, which was horrifying. When he looked up at the Black Dragon Club's private room, he let out a sinister smile, his eyes were twisted, and his blood vessels were throbbing and congested, making him look like a complete pervert. However, this pervert is shrouded in a layer of supernatural threats belonging to ghosts and gods. No doubt. This is a ghost. And it is a ghost god who is close to an evil ghost. Hey, don't you dare to come down? Anyone who dares to come here must be interested in the bride. If you are a coward, you will be eliminated. The skinny man let out an even harsher sinister laugh. The look he looked at Shen Jian became more and more serious. Very aggressive. Shen Jian? His head tilted. Ignoring the contestants in the audience, he focused his gaze on the beggar ghost and iron-armed ghost beside him, as if to say, who is this guy? What kind of friendship is there? The beggar ghost was the first to explain, brother, this ghost, this guy seems to be a killer, or a perverted murderer. He likes to wander the streets at midnight and smash other people's heads with a hammer. If I remember correctly, the other party's most famous deed was that during a counter-encirclement and suppression operation, he killed all the 18 families who attacked him, and piled the enemy's heads into a tower of human heads. It is said that he killed people even if he doesn't even blink. He's not an evil ghost yet, but he's no different from one in essence. Shen Jian pondered for a moment, and then finally uttered a sentence, if he doesn't blink, will his eyes dry? Beggar ghost? God, your eyes are dry. I told you that he kills people without blinking an eye, is a complete pervert, and is very dangerous. You ask me if his eyes are dry? Grass. How do I know whether his eyes are dry or not? Wrong. Are you humming missing the point? Will it extract keywords? Skinny man. He originally had a ferocious look on his face, but when he heard these words, he couldn't help but stiffen. The fluctuations of yin qi suddenly stopped. If you want to tell my secret behind my back, don't let me hear it. How is this different from discussing how to kill the deceased in front of him? Too rude. As for whether his eyes were dry or not, he kept his eyes open the whole time, and he didn't really seem to care whether he was dry or not. Etc. Why should I think about this problem seriously? Damn it. I almost got caught in it. The thin man's forehead had veins popping out. He held up a hammer with blood dripping from his hand and a piece of minced meat nailed to the tip. He roared, "What? Don't you dare to come down? Weren't you very arrogant back then? Destroy my supernatural land. Killed my men and let me crawl out, now it's your turn to taste the shame." Shenjian. At this time, the iron-armed ghost suddenly thought of something. He yelled, "I remembered, this was the owner of a small supernatural place that our Black Dragon Society destroyed during its heyday. I remember that this guy was just a top ghost king at the time, but I didn't expect that he has become a ghost god now, and it looks like, the level of terror is almost as high as that of the former president, and taking the path of becoming a demon has indeed yielded remarkable results. I remember it too." Slender Ghost recalled. "Does this guy hate us?" But he didn't abandon the supernatural place he built to escape. After being captured by us, he knelt down and kowtowed crazily to get another chance. The conspiracy ghost sneered, "The weak will eat the strong, and whoever is stronger will be justified. We think this is the human world, and we are trying to clean up the shame. Unlike me, I will surrender when I surrender, and I will be loyal when I am loyal. I will never have any second thoughts, and I will not be prosperous in the future. We will take revenge." The iron-armed ghost and the thin ghost nodded repeatedly as they listened, but the more they listened, the more they felt right. Why does this sound like he is secretly trying to raise his worth in front of them? As expected. The next second, the conspirator changed the subject and said, "Sir, I am very lucky to have met a master like you. This is definitely the honor of my life." The two were stunned. "Damn it! Your brother is connected heart to heart with you, and you are playing tricks with your brother. You are so humming thoughtful. In this situation, you can also draw inferences about yourself. No wonder you are the most trusted person by the former president. If you talk about this in detail, who wouldn't be surprised?" The two glared at the conspirator. It was like we were breaking up our friendship. The other side. Shenjian listened calmly. Thoughtful. Ganking is a former defeated general of the Black Dragon Society. Looking at the skinny man below who was provoking him and pointing his hammer at him, Shenjian grinned. The figure moved. Appear in the ring. Before, he would have chosen to sit quietly and wait until the winner was finally decided before playing, but now, that's not necessary anymore. He has confirmed that there is indeed Po Meng in Lufengtian in the 5th place. The biggest purpose of this trip has been completed. Next, he can just make fun as much as he wants. It's best if everyone knows it. Because only in this way can all the evil spirits in the bloody city know his name and his deeds. If Meng Po was among them, he would definitely hear his name. As long as he heard about the passive talent of reincarnation, not looking directly, he would immediately know the traces of Po Meng. The same goes for the whereabouts of the evil Ghost King. Therefore, Shenjian decided not to pretend anymore. And in person. At this time. On the field. Seeing Shenjian on the stage, the ghosts cheered. Because this is the first scene of the competition to attract a bride, it attracts extra attention. In addition, there are conflicts between the two, which adds to the excitement of the conflict. One is the new president who has integrated the declining Black Dragon Society. One is a perverted murderer who was massacred by the Black Dragon Society in his own supernatural land, turned into a lonely ghost, and came back for revenge. No matter which one it is very topical. Seeing this, the skinny man also showed a sinister smile, Ha ha ha, I failed to kill the former president. Now I can kill the current president, and then I can kill you Black Dragon Club for fun," said. The yin-chi reaction in his body became stronger and stronger. The overwhelming resentment surged out as if it had materialized. The blood vessels on his body began to bulge, and the hammer in his hand was covered with a dark luster. If he stared at it for a long time, he could faintly see the head of an evil spirit roaring on the hammer. Breathtaking. All the ghosts were frightened. I just felt cold all over my body. Nothing else. This breath is too penetrating. It's like being stared at by a wild beast that chooses people to eat, and there is a kind of trembling from the soul. Especially the supernatural threat, which is almost infinitely close to the world-destroying ghosts and gods. He is even better than the former president of the Black Dragon Society. Think of this. The ghosts all looked at Shen Jian with pity. A thought came to mind: the president of the Black Dragon Society is finished. However, the next second, before the skinny man could give his victory speech, an even more terrifying wave of energy appeared on the stage. Everyone was shocked. Look away. At some point, Shen Jian had taken out a black steel rod from his body. The rod's body was flashing with more than a dozen six-star rays, and the roaring sound of 10,000 ghosts suddenly rang out from above. The sound was shrill and painful, as if screaming. And the group of ghosts saw that a large amount of resentment emerged from Shen Jian's body for no reason, rising into the sky, turning the sky into darkness. Compared with this resentment, the resentment on the skinny man's body was like a child's trick, completely incomparable. Skinny man. Ghosts. Dazeo Ghost King. Everyone was dumbfounded. He froze in place. He looked at the resentment on Shen's body that was so strong that it couldn't be resolved with disbelief. This horse riding requires killing many ghosts to accumulate resentment? You must have destroyed several bloody cities. Otherwise, where does this resentment come from? Wrong. The question now is, this man carries such huge resentment, but he doesn't even have any demonic characteristics. How humming crazy does he have to be in order to suppress such resentment without going crazy? Gan. I bet you are the craziest. The skinny man was equally confused. My eyes are going to pop out. He just killed tens of thousands of finger ghosts, and his own sanity has almost disappeared, and he is only half a step away from becoming an evil ghost. Sometimes he even loses control of his own thinking and slaughters everything around him indiscriminately. Fierce ghost. But what does he see now? He saw someone who, after enduring dozens of times more resentment than him, still appeared completely normal, showing no tendency to turn into a demon at all. What the hell is this? Is this guy really a ghost? The same ghost. How can you endure more than 10 times more than me? Although I know that the gap between people is a bit big, but yours is so big that it's not normal. What a nonsense. You are also a pervert. Subconsciously. The skinny man screamed. I was so scared that I couldn't control my tone at all. The supernatural power that had originally appeared in his body dissipated at this moment. Pervert, etc., I've long since stopped being such a pervert. Shen Jian grinned. On the black steel rod, thousands of ghosts wailed, forming vicious faces and emitting the weirdest supernatural sounds. Wherever the sound passed, the ghosts all covered their heads and screamed. I just felt like my mind was being stirred for a while. A stinging pain came from the soul. Especially the skinny man who was closest was subjected to the attack of tens of thousands of ghostly voices with malicious faces. His whole face began to distort and deform, and he screamed. Immediately afterwards, Shen Jian's voice sounded faintly again. Perverts are not just what you want to be. They are the result of artistic sublimation, not pure violence and blood. An act like yours who only knows how to kill is an insult to perverts. Look clearly, the splash of blood is called an artistic photo. Said. Shen Jian raised the steel rod in his hand. A stick hit him. At once, flowers of blood gushed out like fountains. The entire arena was dyed red. Eventually the art bleeds away and the body becomes a two-dimensional mosaic. See this scene. The ghosts were in an uproar. Terrified. Grass. You are the real pervert when you step on a horse. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 911. At this time, everyone under the ring fell into a deathly silence. Looking at the thing that was hammered into a two-dimensional mosaic, the ghosts all had their pupils trembled and were horrified. What an art! You keep saying that blood and violence are not art, so what were you doing just now? Compared with you, the other party really doesn't deserve the title of perverted murderer. This title belongs to you. You can actually make your perverted annotations sound justified and turn them into art. With your level of madness, who would believe that you are not an evil ghost? No one would have thought that there would be such a murderer with so much resentment in the bloody city, and he would have grown to this point. More importantly, this madman's sanity seemed to be very good. This is the most terrifying thing. Under what circumstances can a person endure tens of thousands of resentments without becoming irrational? The answer is, this person is crazier than being corroded by resentment. Think of this. The audience in the audience took several steps back. Afraid of being targeted by Shen Jian. Madmen are not scary, but a madman with strength and self-consistent logic is enough to become everyone's nightmare. After all, no one knows whether they will be targeted by the other party because of certain actions, crawling to your house in the middle of the night, squatting by the bed, and watching you wake up quietly. Thinking about this kind of thing gives me chills. What's next? At this time, Shen Jian on the stage spoke. He grinned and kicked the mosaic on the ground off the ring, causing a burst of screams. Then, his eyes couldn't help but glance around, looking for the next contestant. Now, he has determined that Po Meng is in the 5th place, Luo Fengtian, so there is no need to watch the show next. The greater the noise, the more and more ghosts will know his existence. The passive talent of reincarnation, cannot be looked directly at, will help him completely locate the whereabouts of Po Meng and the evil Ghost King. What he needs to do now is to catch everyone present. In particular, the group of Ghost Kings who were once part of the underworld and one of the top 10 Yin commanders, were under his focus. Immediately, Shen Jian stared blankly. It landed in the box where the Hayaki club was. The corner of his mouth curled up. If no one continues, then I will win this competition. Where is my prize? This one is not loud. But it was like a thunder that exploded in everyone's mind. Many contestants had uncertain faces. The heart is full of entanglements. Some of the powerful leaders whose terror level was higher than that of ghosts and gods wanted to come on stage, but when they took a closer look, tens of thousands of spiteful faces appeared behind Shen Jian, and his lifeless facial features kept emitting waves of sharp screams. Howling. Just the unconscious ghost sound made their scalp numb. If this happened, they would probably pee on the spot. Then, the leaders of several major forces who originally had some willpower stopped their right foot from taking a step forward, and their left foot seemed to be rooted in the ground, unable to move a step at all. For a while, there was no answer. So quiet that you can hear a needle. Everyone looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Subsequently, the eyes of the ghosts also fell on the 100 Ghost Club. This martial arts contest was held by the 100 Ghosts Association, and its purpose was to use the imprisoned world-destroying ghosts and gods to lure out important figures in the Pavilion of Rebirth, but now, the plan was disrupted. Even before the Pavilion of Purity has exerted its strength, There are already unfamiliar faces overwhelming the crowd and about to win this conference. In this situation, all the 100 ghosts can do is go to the sea, and get off the stage to fight. At the same time, the box where the Hayaki Club is located. The 10 ghosts and gods also looked at each other in confusion. The Ghost King of Dajhan stared at Shen Jian in the audience with a confused expression, and couldn't help but said, "Who is riding a horse? Is there such a killing god in Luo Fengtian here? We also find it strange. The resentment in this special lunatic has seriously exceeded the standard. He is definitely the most ferocious ghost we have ever seen in our lives. If we were placed in the underworld, he would probably be tortured in the 18th level of hell for thousands of years. It is possible to reincarnate in the Azure realm, or even be directly killed by the King of Hell. Good boy, I just took a quick look. This madman has slaughtered at least 500,000 evil ghosts, and also injected all this resentment into his body. Once he dies, the land with a radius of 100,000 miles will become a restricted area for the living. The rest of the ghosts and gods speak to each other. It was like seeing something incredible. As one of the top 10 sinister commanders in the past, they had worked in the underworld for countless years and had seen many extremely vicious spirits, but at this moment, they felt a sense of consternation from the bottom of their hearts. For a long time, the Ghost King Dezhen was the one who reacted. Understand that now is not the time to consider such things. Because of Shen Jian's appearance, serious deviations have occurred in the martial arts competition. If they don't end up, the competition will be over. This situation is not allowed. Then, Dajhan Ghost King looked at one of them, "Sanpai, you go, you are the only one among us who has the means to restrain this resentment. Without this overwhelming resentment, he will be just a ghost and god. With your strength, it's more than enough to suppress him." The words fell. A figure stood up. Nearly 2 meters tall, his naked upper body was engraved with complex runes. A vicious ghost face that resembled a ghostly yaksha also had 2 inscriptions engraved on it. The Sanshang Ghost King nodded. With a ferocious smile on his face, "No matter how ferocious the ghost is, it is not worth mentioning in front of us and other top 10 evil men. Say it." He jumped off the ring. A deep pit with a diameter of several centimeters suddenly appeared on the ground, like a spider web. "I'm here to challenge you. I, the Ghost King of Sanshang, also want to win over this bride." The Ghost King of Sanshang laughed sinisterly. A supernatural wave that was infinitely close to the world-destroying level swept across the entire place. This made many ghosts in the audience turn pale. The background of this 100-ghost society is too terrifying. In addition to the Vice President Dezhen Ghost King, there is actually a ghost and god who is infinitely close to the world-destroying level in the group of 10. Sure enough, he is worthy of being the leader of the 3 overlord-level forces in the Bloody City. If they came out in full force, they would probably be able to fight against the entire Bloody City with the size of a supernatural place. It's really heartbreaking. Boy, if it were someone else, there really wouldn't be any countermeasures to face your overwhelming resentment, but you are unlucky to meet me. I am born to be the nemesis of resentment. Without this layer of support, I think you still have something to lose." "What means?" The Ghost King of Sanshang was not in a hurry to take action. "Keep criticizing." It hit Shen Jian's self-confidence. In his opinion, although Shen Jian is not completely crazy, he has endured such a huge amount of resentment and it is impossible for him to have no impact at all. In this situation, talking loudly is the easiest way to make the other party anxious and cause trouble. The other side. Shen Jian looked strange. Gigi smiled, "What nonsense are you talking about? Control me. I want to see how you can control me. Say it." Shen Jian swung the black steel rod, and a dazzling electric arc flashed on his wrist. It wrapped around the steel rod and turned into a thunder stick. Then he took a step and hit the Sanshang Ghost King's head hard. Disaster, Ghost King? He was startled. His expression changed drastically. Gan. You actually have other killing moves? Could this be thunder? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could the purest thunder appear on Ligui? If you want to control the power of thunder with the body of a fierce ghost, or a yin god, you must at least be at the level of the king of hell. It is simply impossible for a mere ghost or god to do it. Illusion. This should be some kind of supernatural being that can project his inner fears. Think of this. The ghost king of Sanshang widened his eyes angrily, looking at the steel rod that was wrapped with thunder and struck down on his head. He suddenly stretched out his hand, stabbed it hard into his chest, and took out a dark bead. This bead was engraved with complicated patterns and exuded a cold and terrifying aura. I used my body to conceive my soul, and my soul to nourish the pearl. It took me thousands of years to accumulate a complete soul pearl, which can withstand a large-scale supernatural attack. It's not too much to resist your stick. He smiled evilly and crushed the soul bead in his hand. An even more terrifying supernatural wave suddenly erupted. This is a supernatural means to temporarily transcend to the level of world-destroying ghosts and gods. It is an ability unique to him. It takes thousands of years to nourish the soul pearl with one's body, and it will take 1,000 years to successfully give birth to one. Use it to gain the power of world-destroying ghosts and gods. Blocking Shenjian's stick was easy. That's not all. Immediately afterwards, on the surface of the Sanshang Ghost King's naked skin, black lines continued to light up, and there was a terrifying suction force. This is the supernatural pattern covered by the skin of a world-destroying ghost and god. It can swallow up all resentment. Every attack you make will have the ultimate soul-shocking effect. I am wearing ghost skin. I can't block your attack anymore, Bar. After blocking these two fatal attacks, what other methods can you use to cause harm to me? I said I am naturally capable of restraining you. Is there any problem? He smiled even more wildly. There was an indescribable coldness in a pair of ferocious ghost eyes, staring at Shenjian. The ghost's hands grabbed the steel rod wrapped with electric arcs, and the ghost's face was full of pride. A soul bead blocks a blow that represents power. Wearing ghost skin, he can block the soul shock carried by attacks. If two things cancel each other out, what other methods can Shenjian use that can work? On the contrary, he now possesses a strength comparable to that of the world-destroying extreme ghost god. He only needs to block Shenjian's attack, and the rest will be his home court. He can knead each other as he pleases. Let it go east, but not dare to go west. Let it go west and don't dare to deviate. You are really smart. Shenjian's eyes were dark. Hit it hard. Boom. The stick body collided with the ghost hand. In just a moment, the Sanshang Ghost King's expression changed. Because he found that his strength, which was comparable to that of a world-destroying ghost and god, could not withstand the power of the stick. Ijao. You must have struggled to grow up while riding a horse. How does this power look like something a normal ghost can explode out of? What the hell? Cheating. With this thought, the next second, the ghost hand exploded. The steel rod carried great force and continued to hit the head of the Sanshang Ghost King. Boom. There was a loud bang. The figure of the scattering Ghost King flew out like a rocket, plowing a ravine several hundred meters long. In an instant, the whole place was dead silent. End of chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 912. Boom. There was a loud noise. The steel rod collided with the ghost hand, and the ghost hand exploded instantly, hitting the head of the Ghost King of Sanshang with a blow without any loss. In an instant, a figure flew out like a cannonball. A ravine hundreds of meters long was plowed out of the ground. That moment, the ghosts were shocked. Damn it! After all, he was the core figure of the 100 Demons Club, a terrifying being whose level of terror was not inferior to that of the vice president, and yet he was just smashed away by you with a stick? Do you want to be so fierce? The eyes of the ghosts moved with difficulty from Shen Shen's body to the huge pit hundreds of meters away. When they saw clearly that half of the body in the huge pit had been blown up, and the Ghost King of Sangxia had completely lost his supernatural fluctuations, their hearts began to beat violently again. Jump. In addition to being horrified, I also felt a bit contemptuous. The former targets Shen Jian. The latter is naturally aimed at the Ghost King who spreads calamity. What the hell, he boasted so arrogantly in the ring, saying that blocking 2 of your blows is not too much. He looked like he was strategizing and confident, which made us all get excited. Who knew that he would be hit with a stick directly? If you don't have some diamonds, don't take the porcelain job. Acting like a clown. It's really unlucky to step on a horse. Waiting for nothing. At this time, if the Ghost King of Sanshang comes to life again, he will definitely be angered to death again. That guy doesn't know what he grew up on, and he has amazing strength. Even the strength of a world-destroying ghost and god can't withstand a stick. Who am I to argue with him? If I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have even tried to show off. Instead, he becomes a tortoise. I wouldn't feel bad if it really took 1,000 years for the soul pearl to be conceived. Grass. The other side. The 9 members of the 100 Ghost Society looked at the scene in shock. His pupils were full of shock. Gone. Is this humming thing gone? It's noisy. The Ghost King of Sans Huang is the 3rd-ranked existence among the group of surviving Ghost Kings. During the period when the underworld still existed, his performance level was one of the best among the top 10 Yin commanders. Because of this, you can get the ghost skin refined from the skin of the world-destroying ghosts and gods, plus the existence of the soul beads. Even if you face the real world-destroying ghosts and gods, you can compete in a short time without falling behind. But now, the Ghost King of Sanshang, who had used all his methods, was killed instantly. Are you sure you're not kidding them? Even if Shen Jian is really a world-destroying ghost and god, he can't do this. Think of this. The 9 ghosts and gods were stunned. Especially the Ghost King Dajhan looked in disbelief. It seemed unimaginable that there was someone in Luo Fengtian who could pose a fatal threat to the underworld commander. To know. Although they are also ghosts, they are actually different from ghosts. Because they are handsome. What he possesses is the body of a yin god. To a certain extent, they are Li Gui's nemesis. A normal yin shui's terror level is at least at the level of ghosts and gods. Coupled with his own ghost weapon, he is enough to capture ghosts across half a level. If replaced by dead souls, they will not even be afraid of real world-destroying ghosts and gods. It stands to reason that even if the Sanshang Ghost King faces world-destroying level ghosts and gods, he is definitely capable of fighting. What's going on with this horse riding now? Is that president of the Black Dragon Society really a ghost? For a while, the Ghost King Dazao was in confusion. But Shen Jian didn't give the other party much time to think. The look of disgust in his eyes was very obvious. That's it, that's it? No, no, will this be the end of it? That would really disappoint me. Hear this. The remaining 9 ghosts and gods of the 100 Ghost Society all had eyes that were about to burst. I was so angry that my teeth were about to break. What the hell, you killed one of our brothers, and you dare to taunt us here. You really don't know how to write the word death. Dajhan, let me go. If you dare to underestimate our evil commander, he already has a way to die. Damn it, I can do it too. His weakness is very obvious. He doesn't have any decent weird methods. He can only rely on large-scale offensives to suppress the enemy. As long as he can guard against this, he has nothing to fear. My violent temper, compared to my brute strength, I have never been afraid of anyone. Controversy among ghosts. Everyone stared at Shen Jian in the audience. There is a posture of if I go up, I can win for sure. Stop arguing. I've waited until the flowers withered. Let's come together so as not to delay my being the groom tonight. Shen Jian grinned. The words were full of sarcasm. A sinister handsome man died, but the evil ghost king behind him remained indifferent. It seemed that he had indeed shifted all his attention to finding Po Meng. As for Po Meng, she is not here either. But Shen Jian was not in a hurry. He still didn't believe it. He ended the wedding contest ahead of schedule and dragged the glorious ghosts and gods into the bridal chamber. Po Meng could still resist showing up. As soon as these words came out, the whole place suddenly fell into an uproar. Emma. This is too inflated. I know you are powerful, but there are people outside the world. You are not even the strongest in the bloody city. How dare you provoke others? Even if you are the strongest in the bloody city, don't you know the principle of beating a master to death with random punches? Swell. The president of the Black Dragon Society is overinflated. Who the hell is going to treat him? What we dislike the most is this arrogant guy. De Zheng Ghost King also stared at Shen Jian. Then. Stand up suddenly. I'm going to end this farce. Finished. On the ring, the figure of the Ghost King Dajhan appeared. On the naked upper body, a scar ran from the chest to the back, almost cutting it off at the waist. Even just standing there, there is always a sinister aura exuding from his body. This is a survivor of a brutal war. Just at the first glance, it gives people the impression that the other person has crawled out of a mountain of corpses. Cold, dark, and penetrating. You are very powerful. In my thousands of years, this is the first time I have seen such a contradictory individual like you. You are very rare, but you should never interfere in this competition. It is not for you to participate. War. The Ghost King of Dazao spoke sadly. Even though the other party was standing right in front of him, the sound seemed to come from all directions, so erratic that it was impossible to tell where the source came from. Shen Jian looked strange. He ignored the entity in front of him and looked at an open space on the left. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Why, you speak so hard, but you need to hide? Your mouth and body are not hard." Dazao Ghost King. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. There was silence for a moment. Show up proactively. His eyes were filled with emotion. You are really powerful. Even the real-world destroying ghosts and gods cannot see through my disguise. I didn't expect you to notice it at a glance. Can you tell me how you did it? He asked curiously. There was absolutely no intention of taking action. Just stared at Shen Jian. If you look carefully, you will find that the figure belonging to Shen Jian becomes clearer and clearer in the pupils of the Dajhan Ghost King's reflection. It was not an ordinary reflection of another person's body, but it was becoming complete bit by bit. Like copying. He copied Shen Jian's figure bit by bit into his pupils. At this time, an anxious voice suddenly sounded. The source comes from the Black Dragon Club's box. And it was the beggar ghost who spoke. Brother, interrupt him. I remembered that the supernatural power of the vice president of the 100 Demon Society is copying and imitation. Once the supernatural power is activated, he can imitate anyone, and during the imitation, he can use the quilt everything the imitator has, including supernatural powers, weapons, and even the most hidden methods, can be used. He's copying you. This sentence. Like thunder on the ground. The shock made the scalps of all the ghosts go numb. Imitate another person and use all the other person's methods? Can even those that have not been displayed be used? This is too outrageous. With this supernatural power, wouldn't it mean that you are inherently invincible? After all, what the opponent has, you also have. No matter how you fight, the result will be a 50-50 split. In this case, as long as the imitator's terror level is higher than the opponent's, it is a completely magical skill. That's what I thought. The Ghost King Dajhan also tore away his calm exterior, revealing a ferocious ghost face full of ferocity. Ha ha ha, it's too late. The copying has been completed. I have engraved it on you. I also own what you have, including this weapon. The words fell. An inexplicable supernatural feeling enveloped the entire place. The group of ghosts saw that on the ring, the Dajhan Ghost King, who had nothing in his hand, suddenly had a 2-meter-long black steel rod with more than a dozen six-pointed stars flashing on it. There was a faint sound of wailing ghosts coming from inside. This moment, the whole audience was shocked. Damn it! It's really imitated. Not only the supernatural weapons, but even the tens of thousands of malicious faces in the weapons were imitated. This is so humming outrageous. You must be cheating. How about it? Now what you should have, I also have. The advantages and disadvantages between us have been offset. The Dachan Ghost King was holding a black steel rod, with a twisted expression that couldn't help but turn up at the corners of his mouth. The blessing brought by this whale of ghosts is so wonderful. He had a feeling that since he was now infinitely close to the terrifying level of the world-destroying ghosts and gods, coupled with this black steel rod, he would be enough to suppress the world-destroying ghosts and gods. This is no longer the normal category of supernatural weapons, but the underworld weapon. And it is far more powerful than standard underworld weapons such as soul-suppressing bells, mourning sticks, and soul-enchanting chains. It is possible that he has reached the level of a judge. Holding this underworld weapon, he even felt that no evil Ghost King was his opponent. Anything else? See this. Shen Jian also had some interest in his eyes. There was no trace of panic, horror, fear, or any other emotions in his expression, only a hint of curiosity. Haha, there are indeed more. You have so many secrets. In addition to this supernatural weapon, I feel in the dark that you have many similar methods. The most commonly used one is probably this. Said. Dachan Ghost King put his hands together and roared, Lafatianshu. In an instant. The clouds are raging. The heavens became angry. A roaring thundercloud formed over the bloody city. In thunderclouds, the thunder swayed and the arc flashed, like a scene of a doomsday natural disaster. This moment, the whole place fell silent. Everyone opened their mouths wide. He stared blankly at the thunderclouds and swaying thunder in the sky. This horse riding is also a method possessed by that man? Grass. You humming cheat. How was this summoned? Take it back. People will die. The horrified eyes of the ghosts all fell on Dajhan Ghost King one after another, and they were all frightened to the extreme. Scared to the point of peeing. Nothing else. This is really beyond their imagination. Once the thunder strikes, let alone them, the entire bloody city will be disintegrated. Damn it! Dajhan, after accepting this magical power, do you also want to kill us? The 8 ghosts and gods of the 100 Ghost Society also spoke. His eyes were full of shock. And at this time, the Ghost King Dazeo, who was at the center of the incident, was also horrified. Gan. This is actually the magical power that pulls the thunder in the sky. Run away quickly, I am also locked on the horse. Damn it, why did you interrupt me? A scream like a slaughtered pig came from the mouth of the Dazhao Ghost King. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 913. Buzz Buzz. At this moment when thick clouds rolled in and lightning and thunder intertwined, the entire bloody city fell into an extraordinary panic. Countless ghosts raised their heads in confusion, clearly feeling the destructive aura coming from the sky. Boiling. That is destruction. Complete destruction. A doomsday disaster that no one can resist. Moment. Everyone panicked. I just feel like my hair is shaking. Especially when they were at the wedding ceremony, the audience in the center of the thundercloud had their pupils dilated and their eyes widened. One by one, they stood up in a panic. Escape towards the exit. The grimaces were filled with fear. What the hell, is this a supernatural method? Are you crazy or are we crazy? Cheating is cheating, can you not give this behavior a name of normal means? We have never seen normal supernatural means that can destroy the entire bloody city at once. You have such ability, why don't you come to participate in some kind of martial arts contest to recruit a bride? You just have thunderclouds above your head, asking hundreds of ghosts to hand over the bride. Isn't this delicious? For a while, the scene was chaotic. The Dajhan Ghost King, who was located in the center of the thundercloud and in the ring, looked at the scene of swaying thunder above his head. Even if he knew that he had summoned it, he could not help but feel a twinge of heart palpitations. The mouth is open enough to fit a tennis ball. A look of horror on his face. Nothing else. Just because he can't control this magical power. And, as the person involved, he is also locked by this magical power. In other words, he will also be bombarded by thunder. What's the point of riding a horse? Get rid of it? For the first time, this idea emerged in Dajhan Ghost King's heart. His supernatural power is copying and imitating others. Under normal circumstances, this is not a special supernatural ability, it can only be said to be quite satisfactory, but after he became the Yin commander of the underworld, this supernatural ability has undergone tremendous changes. Not only can he imitate others, he can imitate everything about the other person. As long as it is an object copied by him, he will automatically copy everything about the opponent, including but not limited to supernatural weapons, supernatural means, ghost skills, and combat experience. But there are flaws too. That is, he has no memory. He only knew that he could use this method, but he didn't know what it was. Therefore, under normal circumstances, he will only use the supernatural means most commonly used by the person being imitated. However, he never expected that Shenjian's most commonly used supernatural method was to draw thunder from the sky, trigger a large thunderstorm, and turn the place into a thunder purgatory. This special thing is actually a common method. If you tell me this, no one will believe it. This is a big move that is a bit out of character. It is clearly a super kill, but you use it as a level A. It's too luxurious. You have unlimited blue bars. Certainly. If it were just like this, Dajhan Ghost King would not panic. After all, this was what he used to kill the enemy. Naturally, the stronger the better. But he had no control over this supernatural method, or magical power. He can only use it. And he himself became a victim. What's more important is that they can't remove it yet, and they can only watch the thundercloud take shape, with more and more electric snakes swaying uncontrollably in it, and they will chop down at any time. He was about to cry. This thundercloud only needs to strike once, and he will die on the spot. This is no joke. But it can really kill people. Subconsciously. The Dajhan Ghost King cast his gaze on Shenjian not far away, and yelled with a broken mentality, "No, you are sick, you actually use this uncontrollable magical power as a common method, why don't you just do this directly, I'll kill you with 1,000 cuts." Hear this. Shenjian looked strange. He didn't expect that the Dajhan Ghost King would actually use thunder, but it seemed that the opponent couldn't control the large thunderstorm, and couldn't even control the thunder from falling on him. Look at it this way. Even if the imitation is successful, it can only be a superficial imitation. Not even a beginner. Think about it. Shen Jian laughed and said, "Don't you think this is exciting? This is just trying your luck against the enemy. If you chase him, he will escape. You can't escape with your wings, but I can tell you a little trick. The uncontrolled thunder strike, there is a reaction time of 0.01 seconds when going down, but under normal circumstances, this time is not enough to react. In other words, if you want to avoid the thunder, you need to run all the time, so that the thunder will always be one step behind you." Shen Jian spoke seriously. The expression is serious. There is no falsehood at all. She looked like she was having a heart attack. Dazao Ghost King. God is so exciting. Don't use this method if you want to get an adrenaline rush. Isn't this purely harmful to others and not beneficial to oneself? He stared at Shen Jian, gritting teeth. But he knew that this method might really be the only option. As the instigator, he could clearly sense that the thunderclouds in the sky had been gestated, completely out of his control, and would strike at his source at any time. If you don't escape, it will really be too late. Then, he couldn't care about Shen Jian anymore. He didn't care about the wedding contest and ran away. Very fast. Boom. The next second, the night seemed to be torn apart by lightning. A thunder snake about 10 feet long, with a roar that shook the sky, struck hard at the ring where the Ghost King of Dazao stood at the beginning. Accompanied by a shocking loud noise. The entire arena was torn apart and turned into a deep pit with a diameter of more than 10 centimeters. The deep pit was scorched black, and arcs of electricity escaped. See this? The Ghost King Dazao was even more panicked. His face turned visibly pale. He gave himself 2 hard slaps. Mad. Why do you have to be so mean? If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have dared to use this magical power. In his underworld perception, he possesses several similar methods, but now, he didn't dare to use any of them. He was afraid that he would come up with another magical method that he couldn't control. Soon, the Ghost King De Zheng caught up with the remaining 8 ghosts and gods of the 100 Ghost Society. Boom! 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 The thunder struck down faster and faster. Often when the Dajhan Ghost King ran less than 3 meters away, the thunder snake would strike 3 meters away. The huge movement made his heart beat violently. All the souls of the dead are gone. At the same time, the 8 ghosts and gods of the 100 Ghost Society were also extremely frightened. Don't come over here. Damn it, you ran somewhere else. Why are you running in our direction? Gan, you're about to get hit. Don't let us cover up the noise you made yourself. We can't cover it up. The 8 ghosts and gods looked in horror at the Dajhan Ghost King who was getting closer and closer to them, and they started yelling and cursing. All of them are eloquent. Even the other party's 18 generations of ancestors scolded him all at once. With such a vice president on the stand, they would be in trouble for 8 lifetimes. What was just a good competition for marriage was turned into a parkour game, where you will die if you stop. Boom! Another thunder struck down. It just hit one of the ghosts and gods. Ah! You deserve to be blamed for criticizing your uncle. After a scream, only a charred corpse was left on the spot. See this scene. The ghosts screamed and their curses became more intense. The brotherhood and brotherhood of the past are completely gone. The Ghost King Dazao also fell silent. But it only took a moment for him to feel at ease. A dead Taoist friend is not a poor Taoist. The most important thing right now is to save your own life. As for these colleagues who have been together day and night for thousands of years, they will die if they die. It is better for the other party to die than for him to die. He just discovered it. When Leun locks its attack target, it mainly targets existences with a high level of terror. In the entire Bloody City, the only ones who could match him in this aspect were the evil Ghost King and Po Meng. In addition, he still has the buff of the Instigator. Unless the thunder cloud dissipates, he will be chased and hacked no matter where he escapes. In this situation, the first way he thought of was to blend into the crowd. And it's not enough to have a low level of terror, it has to be something similar. Therefore, he found his former colleagues in the underworld. As expected. After blending into this group of people, thunder no longer struck specifically at him, but instead struck at a general range, which gave him a chance to breathe. First timing. De Zheng Ghost King began to scan around Shen Jian's location. When he found that the other party was walking leisurely in the thunder purgatory, letting the thunder strike around him without any change in his expression, he completely broke his guard. Why is it okay for you to ride on a horse? He was confused. In his opinion, Shen Jian's terror level should not be lower than his, maybe even higher. Lei Yun should chase the opponent and attack him. But now, he saw Shen Jian walking in purgatory with a relaxed expression. There was obviously no dodge, but the thunderbolt couldn't hit the opponent at all. How is this going? Is there any way to avoid it? Think of this. A trace of astonishment appeared on Dazeo Ghost King's face, and then he suddenly realized. Yes. If there is no way to deal with it, how could pulling the thunder from the sky become Shen Jian's most common method? Even if you compare luck, you can't be so lucky every time. Immediately, he began to perceive in more detail other magical means that were reproduced by copying the supernatural. Timely. Shen Jian said with a teasing look on his face, no matter how fast the thunder is, how can it be compared to the speed of light? These words shocked the Ghost King Dazeo. Because he seemed to have indeed sensed the ability to reproduce, shining with bright golden light. He gritted his teeth. I doubted what Shen Jian said in my heart, but then I thought about it, pulling the thunder in the sky is the magical power of gods and gods. If he, a ghost and god, uses it beyond his own power, it is inevitable that he will lose control. But the other side's other supernatural methods can't be compared to the thunder in the sky. I really think I am a god. Any ability is a great magical power. With this thought, the Ghost King De Zheng directly used the golden light method that was copied from the supernatural being. At once, the bright golden light reaches the sky. Rays of golden light condensed into miniature suns, hanging in the sky. The next second. Phew! The loud and violent cry resounded throughout the bloody city. Everyone saw that the miniature sun solidified by golden light turned into a golden crow that came out of the mythical era. It spread its wings to the sky, and a pair of golden phoenix pupils shot out bright beams of light. Boom 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 boom. The thunder and the beam fell at the same time. Destructive fluctuations spread across the capital. The earth-shattering explosion also echoed at this moment. Dajhan, you are such a little cutie, what did you do when you stepped on the horse? Looking at the golden crow spreading its wings in the sky and casting down the light of divine punishment, the mentality of the 6 ghosts and gods of the 100 Ghost Society completely collapsed. You can't control it, how dare you use it? You are a really special tiger. Why didn't I realize before that you are also a stubborn person? Dazeo Ghost King. He looked blankly at the golden crow who lost control again and brought destruction to the bloody city. He was completely confused. Subconsciously he looked at Shen Jian. Just in time. Shen Jian's bewitching voice echoed. Call out your leader, otherwise not only will you die, but this capital will be reduced to ruins. Think about it, isn't it that the big brother who takes the lead is there to help you withstand danger? When the sky fell, there was a tall man holding it up. Now that the sky is falling, if you don't call for the tall man, what are you thinking about? Group of ghosts. All the ghosts and ghosts from the 100 Ghost Society paused for a moment. It makes so much sense. Yes. Creatures like Big Brother are just for pushing ahead. If you don't shout now, when will you wait? End of chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 914. Shenjian's words were like thunder on the ground, hitting everyone's hearts. They were left in a daze, with only one thought left in their hearts. Let the tall guy come out and hold it. And the tallest person in the entire bloody city is undoubtedly the president of their 100 Ghost Association, the king of evil ghosts, a world-destroying ghost and god. No hesitation. As if grasping the last straw, Ghost King Dezheng immediately took out a severed finger from his body. Pull hard. Along with the crisp sound of fractures, a mysterious supernatural wave swept the entire place. At the same time, a surprised voice also sounded simultaneously. That woman, Po Meng, showed up. Okay, you have done a great job in holding her back. This era is destined to be ruled by us. As soon as this voice appeared, the yin qi surged above the Dajhan Ghost King, and the yin wind blew up. A ghost shadow crossed the space and projected its figure into the void. The next second, psychic mediums are becoming clearer. The ghostly shadow also gradually appeared. That's a yaksha. A face that resembles a humanoid, but has the characteristics of a fierce ghost. It has a ferocious face, a tall body, and two huge horn crowns inserted upside down on both sides of the temples, like a demon in hell. He is the president of the 100 Ghosts Association, the king of evil ghosts. The only two world-destroying ghosts and gods in the bloody city. He was also one of the former underworld handsome men. At this time, the evil ghost king showed the most ferocious smile on his face. As soon as he appeared, his whole body exuded a terrifying and abnormal supernatural threat. The aura of a world-destroying ghost and god instantly swept across the entire place, shrouding a corner of the huge bloody city in its own ghost realm. Apparently, he was trying to catch a turtle in a jar. Destroy all the enemy's vitality. And all of this was completed within 3 seconds of his body appearing. Do it all. The evil ghost king seemed to be unable to suppress his excitement, and laughed sadly. Mother Meng, you also have this day. In the underworld, I am one of the many evil handsome men, and I am an inconspicuous part of the underworld. And you are the messenger on the road to death, and your status is above that of ordinary judges, but so what? Don't you want to? The words have not yet fallen. The evil ghost king cast his gaze leisurely. Everywhere you look, there are ruins. Po Meng's figure was not among them. His words stopped abruptly. A question mark slowly emerged in my mind. Subconsciously, he cast his gaze on the embarrassed-looking ghost king Dajhan and his colleagues, and said grimly, "What's going on? Where's Po Meng? I didn't see Po Meng. Why did you send a message?" Dajhan Ghost King pointed to the sky with a stiff expression. "Tell the other person to look up. Maybe there are some unexpected surprises." The evil Ghost King was stunned. He looked up abruptly. At this time, above the sky, the thunder snake leaned most of its body out of the thunder clouds. The electric arc swayed uncontrollably, emitting deafening thunder. In a pair of vertical pupils full of thunder, the figure of the evil Ghost King was reflected. The golden crow also spreads its wings, and the bright golden light emerges from the phoenix's eyes, like a god who judges the world, and wants to bring sin and punishment to this evil Ghost King who looks up to the sky. That moment, 6 eyes facing each other. The atmosphere suddenly became dead silent. The face of the evil Ghost King turned pale at a speed visible to the naked eye. His pupils were wide and round. My eyes almost popped out of my head. Damn it! What the hell is this? I want you to find Po Meng, not a god. Mad. Thunder Snake, Golden Crow, I must be dreaming back to the mythical era, otherwise how could these inhuman things appear in Luo Fengtian? How did his colleagues get into trouble with these things? A series of question marks appeared in the mind of the evil Ghost King. But soon, he made the right choice. Emma, I'm scared to death. A cry of surprise. The evil Ghost King immediately turned around and ran away. At this time, how could he think about losing his job? It was more important to save his life. The sky full of thunderclouds and the menacing golden crows looked like they were not something that a world-destroying ghost and god like him could afford to offend. Even if he holds a soul-shaking hammer, a soul-suppressing gong in his hand, a soul-suppressing bell around his waist, and a soul-seducing chain, he still can't resist the attacks of the two mythical creatures. Not to mention, there are more than one or two such mythical creatures. Only fools stay. At this time, the evil Ghost King had already scolded his former colleagues bloody in his heart. After provoking such a thing, he asked him to deal with the aftermath. First of all, he also thanked these people for thinking so highly of him, but, what he was special about was not the bastard in the wishing well, nor could all future troubles be solved. How evil, save me. When the Ghost King Dajhan saw this, he shouted, "Get out of here, uncle." The evil Ghost King didn't even look back and flew directly towards the distance. At this time, whoever doesn't run will have Shabai. See this. All the ghosts and gods were dumbfounded. Damn it, you are so spineless. We struggled a bit anyway. It would be better for you to just take a look and run away without saying a word. How evil, stop, otherwise I will keep following you. The Razor and the Golden Crow are locked on target, and you will never escape. The Ghost King Dachan roared angrily. This tall guy has weak legs. It's overwhelming at first glance. But in this situation, duo seeing is their last hope. If they can't solve it, they can only die together. The evil Ghost King. He paused. The whole person was a little unbearable. Damn it. It turns out you are waiting for me here. You broke the supernatural medium and asked me to come over, not because you thought I could withstand these two devastating attacks, but because you thought we were on the same team and should die together, so that you wouldn't feel like you were at a disadvantage? You know how to dig holes for your teammates to jump out of. Too stupid. Think of this. He stopped abruptly. His face turned completely dark, and he gritted his teeth and forced out a sentence. Listen to me, Dajhan, such magical powers cannot be used by ordinary people, and they will dissipate soon. And you also know that in this era, the immortal gods are dead, and there are no great magical means at all. The thunderclouds and golden crows may seem scary, but their actual power is not great. And who are we? The Yin commander of the underworld is the lucky one left in the underworld. We have abilities that are ahead of this supernatural era. These methods cannot kill us. I even think that if we rush into the thundercloud like this, we might be able to break it up. He is the boss after all. He is the first among his colleagues to advance to the level of world-destroying ghost and god. Even if my heart feels hairy and my hair stands on end, I can't say it outright. Instead, I can say encouraging words to inspire the confidence of others. Dazeo Ghost King. He looked at the other person with different eyes. In that case, do you dare to come back and talk again? The evil Ghost King. The corner of his mouth twitched. He showed an expression that was uglier than crying. What a hell joke. What's the difference between letting him walk back into the dense thundercloud area and hanging a hanging rope around his neck? Then think about it again. Even if the Ghost King of Dazeo follows him, what does it matter? He is a world-destroying ghost and god, while Dajhan Ghost King is just a ghost and god. Moreover, he also holds 4 or 5 underworld weapons, so he can suppress the opponent at will. He has already thought about it. If the Dazeo Ghost King really dares to follow him, he will be ruthless. With this thought, The evil Ghost King turned around again. See this. Dazeo Ghost King also understood the other party's plan. Adhering to the concept of facing difficulties together. Then he shouted at the top of his lungs, "Sir, he wants to escape." The evil Ghost King was slightly startled. "I don't understand what the other person is shouting." The next second, he got it. Boom. Thunder struck straight down, followed closely by the beam of light. Along with the thunderous roar, a huge pit was blasted out of the evil Ghost King's body, and he stood on a stone pillar only 2 centimeters in the center of the pit. Apparently, this looks like a scene bombarded by precise control of the attack range. That moment, the evil Ghost King had a ridiculous idea in his heart. The thunderclouds in the sky and the mythical golden crow were all controlled by humans. And that person is exactly what the Dajhan Ghost King calls the master. He had just observed his surroundings. In addition to their 8 underworld commanders, there was only one man with a bloody hemp rope around his wrist. At first, he thought the other party was a passerby. But now, what kind of passerby is this? This damn thing is clearly a hidden boss. When he thought that the thunderclouds surging in the sky and the golden crows spreading their wings and roaring fiercely were controlled by this person, he was inevitably frightened. This is outrageous. It was just a dream. In this supernatural age, how could anyone still display such great power? This is a method that only immortals can use. He does not belong to mortals, nor to ghosts, nor to Yinshui. Think of this. The evil Ghost King's pupils shrank sharply. Something seemed to come to mind. At this time, Shen Jian also walked out. He did not look in the direction of the evil Ghost King, but looked into the distance, with a hint of excitement at the corner of his mouth, and the voice of ghosts and gods rang out. "Mother Mang, come out, I've been looking for you for a long time." As soon as these words came out, there was a commotion on the field. The eyes of the evil Ghost King and his group were immediately attracted. "Is MRS Meng here too?" "Where?" There was silence for a few seconds. A supernatural wave spread. A figure emerged. At the same time, there was an ethereal voice. "Mengpo, I pay my respects to the Lord of the Underworld and wish you good recovery. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the King of Hell of the 10th Palace." Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 915. Mengpo, I pay my respects to the Lord of the Underworld and wish you rebirth. Ethereal yet slightly vicissitudes of life. On the horizon not far away, a layer of ghost realm suddenly appeared. In the ghost realm, the moon is like frost, and a blood-colored gloomy flower is swaying, and in the center, stands a woman in a red dress, bright and moving, with a pair of dark eyes that seem to have experienced the vicissitudes of life. There is a kind of change over the years, but I don't become unique. As soon as he appeared, he attracted everyone's attention. She lowered her head and looked at Shen Jian for a long time, then knelt down on one knee. "The great lord of the underworld welcomes your arrival, and is the messenger who leads you on the way to the afterlife. I would like to sincerely congratulate you." This moment, the whole place was dead silent. As if the pause button had been pressed, he remained motionless. The evil Ghost King, the great Ghost King, and even the 6 remaining ghosts and gods of the 100 Ghost Association all had their pupils shrinking suddenly at this moment, their mouths opened wide, and they didn't know how to close them. "Earth, Lord of the Underworld. Damn it! This is a big joke. Aren't the heirs of the underworld still imprisoned in the dungeon by them, unable to move? Why is there another one? Who is the glorious ghost and god imprisoned by them?" For a while, everyone is confused. My mind is buzzing. I just felt a chill going straight up to Tianling Gai. His whole body started to tremble. If the imprisoned glorious ghosts and gods are not the heirs of the underworld, but the man in front of them, doesn't it mean that they have just been against the Lord of the Underworld? Think of this. Thump. Except for the evil Ghost King, the other 7 ghosts and gods all had their knees weak and fell to the ground, their lips trembling. Targeting the underworld behind his back and betraying him in front of the Lord of the Underworld are 2 completely different things. In the former case, they can still pretend that nothing happened, but in the latter case, it's just the old man eating arsenic because he doesn't want to live long. To know. Although the hierarchy of the underworld is not strict, there are clear distinctions between superiors and subordinates. The lowest existence is undoubtedly the wandering soul living in the city of death. Next came the underworld officials. Goicha is a slave. The bad guys are the grassroots people, they move wherever they need to go. Then there is Yinshui, who is at the level of team leader and has a little power and can have his own Yinsha team. They belong to this group. Further up, there is the city god and the judge. Then there are the 10 palaces of Yama that maintain the order of the underworld. Then came the ghost emperors of the 5 directions and the guardians of the 6 great Luo Fengtian. Finally, there is the Lord of the Underworld, the Lord of the Underworld. One can imagine what a huge gap there is between these shady guys and the real Lord of the Underworld. Under normal circumstances, the highest level leader they can see is the King of Hell. But now, they passed through an unknown number of levels and met the legendary Lord of the Underworld. As soon as this idea came up, the ghosts were about to cry. They were indeed curious about the legendary Lord of the Underworld, and they did want to meet this legendary being, but not when they betrayed the underworld. Who said that the underworld has disappeared and the gods in the sky have died? Open your dog eyes and see clearly, if the immortal god is dead, how did the Lord of the Underworld appear? You little bitch, let us jump into the fire pit. It's too silly. The group of ghosts looked at the evil Ghost King with grief and anger. That ferocious look made him want to eat the other person up. The evil Ghost King. He was also confused. There was a storm in my mind. But the next second, as if he couldn't accept this fact, he yelled at Po Mang, "Mangpo, do you think I will believe it if you say this? Don't be kidding me." Luo Feng's heavenly authority was broken more than a year ago, and the underworld I have just recovered not long ago. How could it be possible that there is already the Lord of the Underworld? What are you barking at? Besides, if you knew who the Lord of the Underworld was, how could you have chosen to attack the headquarters of my 100 Ghost Society last night? Obviously, in your heart, the little girl imprisoned by me is the real heir to the underworld. Hear this. Po Meng glanced at the evil Ghost King lightly. There was a hint of contempt on that weather-beaten but still charming face. I saved the person in the first place because I knew that the other person was the master of the temple of Zhongfei Kailingtian Palace, a being born from faith, and I would not be interested in other Luo Fengtian's authority at all, so that she could make such a big show of it. Collecting it can only be done by someone entrusting her to find it. And you haven't seen the methods of the Lord of the Underworld, but unfortunately, I have seen it. The eyes that flashed over Luo Fengtian a few days ago are the unique abilities of the Lord of the Underworld. That's when I knew he was coming. Hear this. The evil Ghost King's face became increasingly pale. His steps staggered a few times and almost gave way. His mind went blank. He actually believed 90% of Mengpo's words, especially when the other party knelt down, but he couldn't believe it. Because that means he's finished. He was completely finished. Being targeted by the Lord of the Underworld, regardless of whether he is a sinister commander or a world-destroying ghost, the outcome is already doomed. In this situation, how could he accept this fact? Subconsciously, the evil Ghost King looked at where Shen Jian was. Just in time. Shen Jian also showed a weird smile towards him. As if to say, are you surprised or surprised? How does it feel to betray someone in front of the Emperor? Isn't it exciting? The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. He always felt that the lord of the underworld in front of him was different from the ones he had heard about. In rumors, the lord of the underworld is the master of hell and the supreme being in the underworld. He rarely appears without speaking. Every time he speaks, it is only a few words. It is so threatening that people don't even have the courage to raise their heads. Majesty, coldness, mystery, and power are all synonymous with the lord of the underworld. As for the man in front of him, other than being strong, he couldn't be described as anything else. Majestic, my family, the majestic lord of the underworld, would actually show such a nasty smile. I'm really humbled. Cold, mad, a guy who disguises his identity the whole time and makes fun of everyone, how can he have anything to do with coldness? He is not a devil. Mystery, this is indeed mysterious, but other people's mystery is used to improve their performance. Your mystery is to prevent others from knowing your identity and directly frightening them, and not having enough fun. Is this guy with such a bad character really the lord of the underworld? For a while, he was also messy. His steps subconsciously began to retreat. Want to escape from this place? Nothing else. Between death and a chance of survival, he chose the latter. In his opinion, there is still hope for him. After all, the Thunder Snake couldn't catch up with him, and the Golden Crow's divine punishment couldn't hit him. Even if Mengpo takes action, as long as he only thinks about escaping, it is impossible for Mengpo to catch him at the same level. As for Shenjian, the lord of the underworld, he was indeed afraid. But if you think about it carefully, the underworld has just recovered not long ago. As the master of the underworld, Shenjian cannot be without any injuries. Whether he can exert half of his strength is a question. In this situation, he felt that he still had a chance to run. Certainly. Provided there are enough obstacles. Unfortunately, he really humming has it. In an instant, the evil Ghost King spreads the ghost realm around him. In the ghost domain, mountains of corpses are everywhere. There are corpses of evil spirits everywhere. It was not an illusion or an illusion, but a real scene. This is the number of evil ghosts he killed when he and a group of the top 10 shady men were forced into the horror world and were surrounded by tens of thousands of evil ghosts. Now, after so many years of erosion, these fierce ghosts have long become ghost slaves in his ghost domain. A densely packed area. At least there are more than 40,000. And the level of terror is not low. All members are above Ghost King level. Even if he becomes a ghost slave and cannot display his full strength, it is not a big problem to stop Shenjian for a short time. With this thought, the evil Ghost King showed a fierce look on his face and commanded an army of tens of thousands of evil ghosts to rush out of the ghost domain in a mighty manner, occupying the entire originally spacious street without leaving any gaps. Then, rushing forward in a mighty manner. But he himself turned around and ran away without a trace of nostalgia. See this. The faces of the ghosts and gods in the 100 Ghost Society couldn't help but change. It was as if he had seen a desperate scene in which his group was pulled into a terrifying world, surrounded by thousands of ghosts, and could only be consumed to death by roars, and completely submerged. Now, the scene seemed to reappear. The feeling of despair and powerlessness when facing the ghost tide came to my mind again. But this time, the lord of the underworld was also with them, as was Po Meng. Then, they looked at Shenjian. I want to know how this lord of the underworld, who only exists in rumors, will deal with the ghost tide. What is the gap between them and each other? Is it to pull the thunder clouds and summon thousands of thunders, or to drive the golden crow to bring down the light of divine punishment? As soon as this idea came up, a group of ghosts and ghosts from the 100 Ghost Association saw Shenjian standing there, with the corner of his mouth raised in a sarcastic mockery. Mengpo has been found. This trip is complete, and you should die. The words fell. Shenjian's originally dark eyes seemed to turn into a deep whirlpool, with ripples appearing, and then. Those who look directly at reincarnation have lost their true destiny. Despair. Shen Jian snapped his fingers. The crisp sound is like the prelude before the opening. The next second. The army of ghost slaves that originally came in a mighty manner all dissipated at this moment. That's not an adjective, that's a noun. The group of ghosts saw that at the moment of snapping the fingers, all the ghost slaves turned into fly ash and disappeared between the heaven and the earth. Not even a trace of its existence can be detected. Now. The ghost's eyes widened. Nest grass. What kind of magical power is this? He just snapped his fingers and there was no movement at all. All the ghost slave army was gone? Even if it's a magical method, it should still be reasonable. Those who didn't know this might have thought it was some kind of special effects show. Too exaggerated. The ghosts couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. The soul was shocked. Because they had no idea what methods Shen Jian used. It seemed like it was just a snap of the fingers. Doesn't this mean that if Shen Jian wanted to kill them, all he had to do was move his finger? Gan. Looking at it this way, you really were playing tricks on us just now. It's so funny. The Lord of the Underworld really likes to do some underworld operations. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chi Gua. Chapter 916. A snap of the fingers. Tens of thousands of ghost slaves were wiped out, leaving no room for resistance. This scene was too shocking. So that everyone could not calm down for a long time. They naturally knew that there was a big gap between themselves and the rumored Lord of the Underworld, but they never expected that the gap would be so big. Above the ghosts and gods are the world-destroying level ghosts and gods, and above the world-destroying level ghosts and gods are the disaster level ghosts and gods. The ghosts and gods are already equivalent to the level of a city god. The world-destroying ghosts and gods are equivalent to the city gods who govern a continent. They are comparable to the 4 great judges. The disaster-level ghosts and gods are already above the judges and have reached the level of the king of hell. Threshold. In their view, the current underworld has just recovered less than 2 years ago. As the master of the underworld, the Lord of the Underworld is the first to face the various negative impacts brought about by the shattering of the 6 paths of reincarnation, the disappearance of the 18 levels of hell, and the disappearance of the underworld. The serious injuries suffered are unimaginable. In such a short period of time, if the opponent can recover to the level of a disaster-level ghost, it is already an ideal effect. But now, this guess was shattered. This is no longer something that disaster-level ghosts and gods can do. Perhaps in terms of strength, disaster-level ghosts and gods can easily deal with an army of tens of thousands of ghost slaves, but ghosts of this level will never be able to wipe out the army of ghost slaves with just a snap of their fingers. This is not a supernatural means or a magical power, but a higher level of power. Point to the rules. Ordinary immortals and gods cannot master it. And Shen Jian, who has regained control of this rule, can imagine that the other party has recovered to an astonishing stage. Gilu. All the ghosts and ghosts from the 100 Ghost Society swallowed hard. The world-destroying ghosts and gods have been their lifelong pursuit. The disaster-level ghosts and gods above that are even more distant and important figures. Looking at the entire horror world, ghosts of this level only exist in legends. Maybe even none. After all, that has already reached the threshold of the King of Hell. A ghost possesses the power of the King of Hell, which is beyond their imagination. As for Shen Jian, the level of terror is still higher than that of disaster-level ghosts and gods. Look at it this way. Isn't this pure invincibility? What is the horror world still resisting? It would be nice to wash your body obediently and wait for the favor of the underworld. It would be even more exciting if you resisted. The other side. Different from the turbulent thoughts of hundreds of ghosts, tens of thousands of ghost slaves were wiped out behind him, leaving only fear in the heart of the evil Ghost King. The gap is so big. The army of ghost slaves that can even swamp him is just a matter of moving his fingers to the Lord of the Underworld. This is so desperate. A feeling of powerlessness swept through him. His whole body was like a deflated balloon, deflating directly. The evil Ghost King's eyes were about to burst, and he couldn't help roaring, "You have such strength, why didn't you show up when we were pulled into a terrifying world, besieged by thousands of ghosts, and consumed to death one by one here?" His voice was filled with sadness and anger. Full of hysteria. When he faced despair and could only watch helplessly as the fierce ghosts came one after another and drowned him, no one in the underworld stood up. The city god, the judge, the king of hell, the ghost emperor, and even the lord of the underworld, no one stood up, like now this saves him. Then he betrayed the underworld and joined the horror world. What reason did this person have to kill him? Just because he is just handsome and there are hundreds of people like him, so isn't it worth saving? Hear this. Shen Jian looked as usual. A step forward. Walk straight over. The voices of ghosts and gods resounded. The city gods you said could save you all fell into the world of horror. 2 years ago today, the underworld was deserted, with only a lonely Yama temple located here. Whether it is the earthly world or the horror world, there is no longer any legend about the underworld and the deeds that have existed. This is the reason why the underworld does not come to save you. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was shocked. Even Po Mang, who had been standing quietly, changed her expression. They believe that the resurrection of the underworld means that when the underworld has recuperated to a certain extent, it will come to the world again. During this period, countless young gods sleeping in the underworld will gradually wake up. But now, from Shen Jian's mouth, what they heard was an underworld that was dead and full of waste. The city god, the judge, the king of hell, and the ghost emperor are all gone. Only an empty hell was left. How can this be? Doesn't this mean that everything in the underworld needs to be rebuilt? No doubt. This is a big project. Whether it can be restored is a question, let alone return to its heyday. If this is the case, then it would be perfectly normal for the underworld not to come looking for them. After all, the underworld is gone and the people are gone, who can still remember them? Apparently. The evil Ghost King was also shocked by Shen Jian's words. He was stunned for a few seconds. They never thought that the reason why the underworld didn't come to save them would be so simple. It was so simple that his betrayal became particularly glaring. Even if you want to point fingers at Shen Jian from the moral high ground, it seems unfair. This made him very uncomfortable. Feeling aggrieved. Mad. Beaten again and again. It can't be said. It doesn't make sense at all. This is too grassy. Just thinking about it? Shen Jian had already walked up to the evil Ghost King and grinned. Of course, I'm not saying this to show off my misfortune, I just want to tell you that my killing you has nothing to do with you being a handsome and sinister person, and it doesn't matter if I betray you or not. You were doomed when you took action against my client. It is the King of Hell's business to forgive you, and I am only responsible for sending you to hell. Said. Shen Jian's tone became sinister, and his big hand was about to catch the evil Ghost King. At this time, the evil Ghost King seemed to have thought of something in his mind. He shouted in horror, "You can't kill me. Once I die, the dungeon where that woman is imprisoned will collapse on the spot. It is not an ordinary dungeon, but a supernatural environment created by me. I will be exiled to an unknown place with my death place, that way, you'll never be able to find her again." This is his last bargaining chip. Although that woman is not the heir to the underworld, she must have a lot of connections to be entrusted by the Lord of the Underworld to collect Luo Fengtian's authority here. Nor does he ask for more. He just asked Shen Jian to let him go and let him fend for himself. Otherwise, once the master of the underworld takes action, he may not even have a chance to reincarnate and will completely disappear between heaven and earth. Hear the words. Shen Jian paused. There was a bit of weirdness in his eyes, and he said quite unexpectedly, "So you don't know? In that case, let you die without regrets. Say it." Shen Jian raised his head and waved his hand, "Stop peeking in the dark. This fool doesn't even know you have come out. It's boring to peek into the privacy of such a fool. What an evil ghost king." He was slightly startled. "Damn it. Why are you starting to curse? Even if you were the lord of the underworld, you would not insult others like this. Just thinking about it? A heavenly sound of disgust exploded in my ears. It's really boring. I've been spying on him for several days, and this guy has been moving around Luo Fengtian. There's no privacy at all. It's boring." The evil ghost king followed the sound and looked. "I saw the glorious ghosts and gods who were supposed to be imprisoned in the dungeon. I don't know when they had appeared here. They were wrapped in golden light, only revealing their beautiful figures that aroused people's imagination. They stretched lazily and very lazily." The tone was full of disgust. She curled her lips with disdain, as if she was ashamed that the other party wouldn't even reveal his privacy to her. He was even more dumbfounded. "How the hell did you break free? And this, you've been secretly spying on me for several days? And I didn't notice any trace? Then how did you get caught by me?" At once, the evil ghost king's scalp exploded. Understood something. Breathing becomes rapid. You deliberately let yourself be captured." He roared with disbelief. "After all, I am also the oldest being who is closest to the disaster level ghosts and gods. You are a world-destroying level. Even with the underworld artifact, it is impossible for you to be on par with me, let alone the supernatural environment arranged. How can you have the confidence to do so? Trapping me?" The glorious ghost couldn't hide his disgust in his words. "He has the attitude of a common man, really humble." The evil ghost king. The corners of his mouth trembled violently. A mouthful of old blood almost spurted out. Because he really felt that the supernatural environment he had set up could trap the glorious ghosts and gods. Certainly. This was before he only knew that the glorious ghosts and gods were new to the level of world-destroying ghosts and gods. Take a look now. The other party was a newcomer to the world destruction level just like him, and he was clearly an existence that was infinitely close to the disaster level ghost and god. Even if it is placed in the underworld, this is already equivalent to the level of the 4 major judges. For a while, his face turned green and black. "I was so angry that my teeth were about to break. You too, you are really a dog compared to a horse." The evil ghost king stretched out his hand tremblingly, pointing at Shen Jian and the glorious ghosts and gods who also had evil tastes, feeling extremely sad and angry in his heart. He still doesn't know that he is just like a clown at this moment. Being fooled around. I was cheated out of my pants. Damned. Why don't a bolt of lightning strike this couple to death? So abominable. Facing the evil ghost king's gaze, the sneer in Shen Jian's eyes grew even stronger. No hesitation. Reach out and wipe. The passive talent of reincarnation cannot be looked directly at and takes effect simultaneously. In an instant, the body of the evil ghost king turned into sand in front of everyone. This is erasure directed at the source. It is to remove the opponent from reincarnation. The existence that has been erased will not enter reincarnation in this life, and there will be no afterlife. There will no longer be proof of the other party's existence in this world. This is one way reincarnation manifests itself. In Shen Jian's view, just a superficial use of reincarnation is far more domineering than the priestly talent of the 10 palaces of Yama. The latter still needs to be activated, and is still in the category of great supernatural powers. The former, silently, is the application of rules. Just obtaining the exclusive token of Emperor Fengdu, the seal of reincarnation, brought about such a huge change, which made Shen Jian look forward to the true status of Emperor Fengdu. He unlocked the last 6 paths of reincarnation. Even Jesus could not stop what he said. End of chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 917. Seeing the evil ghost king's body disintegrating inch by inch, turning into grains of sand and dispersing in the sky, the scalps of all the ghosts and ghosts went numb. The president of their 100 Ghost Association, and the initiator of uniting them to betray the underworld, a true world-destroying ghost and god, was wiped out without any resistance. To know. This is not a simple crash, but complete death. Not only was the physical body annihilated, not even the soul body was left, let alone reincarnation. For any living being, this is an unbearable punishment in life. Because this means that there is no trace of my existence in this world, not even similar flowers. Think of this. The 6 ghosts and gods lowered their heads. The fear threshold in my heart has been seriously exceeded. If their hearts were dug out at this moment, they would find that their hearts beat as fast as a pile driver and their blood vessels would bulge. One can imagine how nervous they were already. The footsteps getting closer and closer were like the whisper of death, which would take away their lives at any time. Before Shen Jian finished speaking, the Ghost King De Zheng had already lowered his high head at Shen Jian's feet and swallowed his saliva. Sir, we are willing to accept the punishment. No matter how many years we stay in the 18th level of hell, we are also willing to wait until the sentence is over. Release, we are willing to atone for our sins, start from the grassroots level, and contribute our share to the reconstruction of the underworld. Yes, sir, I am also willing to accept the punishment. No matter how many years it takes, we will atone for our sins, work hard without complaint, and work conscientiously to help the recovery of the underworld. The same goes for us. A group of shady handsome men pledged their allegiance. Once the emperor and his ministers, now the underworld is prosperous, it is a great time for them to invest in the construction of the underworld. No matter how many years they live in the 18th level of hell, as long as they can survive, they are willing. Hear the words. Shen Jian looked as usual. Not much was said. Whether he kills these old underworld tribes or not has no impact on him. He only kills the evil leaders. The rest depends purely on his mood. And now, he was in a good mood. Then, Shen Jian waved his hand, go away and clean up the mess. Yes. Ghost King Dazao looked happy. He stood up immediately. The joy of escaping from death and surviving a disaster made his face turn red. The sense of belonging to the underworld suddenly reached its peak. Immediately, he strictly followed Shen Jian's orders. While standing up, he rolled his body towards the direction of the 100 Demons Club. The other Yinshui blinked their eyes. In his heart, he was full of contempt for the actions of the Ghost King Dazao. He was so spineless. Subsequently, they got out too. One is faster than the other. It seemed that he wanted to tell Shen Jian which of them was more thorough in executing orders. The other side. A scarlet panel emerged. Random mission, participate in the competition to find a bride, completed. Note, it is detected that the player entered illegally, and there is no reward for this task. Glanced. Shen Jian looked back. He looked at the biggest target of the strip, Po Meng. Wearing a red dress, the sea of flowers on the other side is visible behind her. That bright face seemed to have gone through the baptism of a long time, weathered, and the dark eyes reflected the vicissitudes of life. There is a unique beauty of history. Grown-ups. Po Meng bowed slightly and looked respectful. Shen Jian was also unambiguous and spoke bluntly, Mother Meng, do you know how long I have been looking for you? From the first time I stepped into the deep ghost realm, I heard about you's whereabouts in Qingguo, and until the 5th place Luo Fengtian, I finally met you. Po Meng was stunned. There was some thought flashing in his eyes. Your Excellency, you have heard of me in Zhoujuanian Palace. Is it a mountain god? I remember the only time I took action was to help the evil mountain god stabilize his divinity. Unfortunately, the ghost nature in his body has already taken over his body. I became the subject and there was nothing I could do. Speaking of which, there was a bit of regret in Ms. Meng's tone, but then she smiled, but if he can survive until he meets you, sir, he has already recovered. He is lucky. As for making you search so hard, my lord, this was not my intention. I was searching everywhere for the whereabouts of the last Luo Fengtian, searching all the way up from Zhoujue in Tiangong, but I didn't know that you were already here. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. Why are you looking for this last place, Luo Fengtian? Meng Po paused, looked into Shen Jian's eyes, and said word by word, because I got clues. The last place of Luo Fengtian that has been missing so far is likely to contain the truth about the disappearance of gods and Buddhas all over the sky. The underworld is broken, the truth is probably among them, and I want to know what's going on. Hear this. Shen Jian frowned slightly. It's just a place called Lu Fengtian, burying the truth behind the disappearance of gods and Buddhas all over the sky. It's not that he meant to belittle his own industry, but it was ridiculous. Luo Feng Liuxian is just a small world in the underworld. Although its guardian has strength comparable to that of the 5 ghost emperors, compared to the gods and Buddhas in the sky, it is still not enough to see in heaven. Where did you get the clue? Shen Jian questioned, but continued to ask. Tian Zhao is guilty of the heavenly palace, Po Meng said truthfully. Shen Jian's face was expressionless. However, there was still a look of sure enough in his eyes. Because the heavenly palace of Tianzhao's sinful qi is exactly the 4th place of Lufeng heaven, which is where the Buddha's kingdom is located. Apart from the Buddha kingdom, he really couldn't think of anyone else who had clues about the immortals. What exactly? Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. He had some doubts about the authenticity of this information. After all, Ksatagarbha is probably the only one who can grasp such clues. The other party who revealed such clues to Po Meng must have a plan. Po Meng didn't know this, so she explained, I once entered the heavenly palace of Tianzhao and experienced a life cycle. When I woke up, I peeked into a corner of the past and saw the scene of the fall of immortal gods. And the place where he fell was the last place in Luo Fengtian. Among them, I also saw 10 lords of hell and the 5 ghost emperors. Shen Jian said nothing. This statement was different from what he had learned. From the information he knew, the 10 palaces of Yama and the 5 directions ghost emperors all disappeared together with the underworld, but in Meng Po's eyes, the 10 palaces of Yama and the 5 directions ghost emperors perished in the last place, Luo Fengtian. To this, Shen Jian believes in the former more. Nothing else. The disappearance of the underworld was witnessed by the surviving city god, and the corner of the past that Meng Po spied on was deliberately allowed to be seen by the existence of the suspected Ksatagarbha. Not to mention, what ability does the horror world have to make the sky full of immortals and Buddhas fall? Unless behind the horror world, there is a world with a higher latitude. But this is impossible. If there were traces, there was no way he wouldn't be able to detect them at all. In Shen Jian's view, he prefers the rules of heaven and earth. The order has undergone tremendous changes, making this era unsuitable for immortals and gods to survive, and then disappeared. As for the horror world and horror games, they just took advantage of the end of the mythical era and the final period of the disappearance of the underworld and heaven to fully invade this world. As long as there are one or two immortals and gods above the king of hell staying here, it is impossible for the horror world to invade so thoroughly. There are no tigers in the mountains, but monkeys are kings. That's the truth. Think of this. Shen Jian's lips curled up. Although he did not find the truth behind the disappearance of the underworld, he felt that he was very close to the dusty history. The rest was nothing more than getting more detailed clues from Ksitigarba's mouth to support his conjecture. As for the last place, Luo Fengtian, there may be clues about the disappearance of immortals and Buddhas all over the sky, but it can never be the truth, let alone the place where immortals and gods fell. He suspected that the reason why the Buddha kingdom was looking for the last Luo Fengtian was just to become the master of the last Luo Fengtian and obtain more permissions for horror games so that he could completely become the master of the horror world. Then, Shen Jian nodded slightly. Show that you know. Subsequently, he stretched out his hand and said with a smile, come back with me. The underworld needs you. Without your presence, the six paths of reincarnation is missing the most important link and has never been able to be put into operation. Po Meng was startled. He looked steadily at Shen Jian's extended right hand. A bit of surprise flashed in his eyes. There was even more excitement in my heart. That is the Lord of the Underworld, the Lord of the Underworld, and the Supreme Master of the Underworld. Except for Yama of the 10 Palaces and the Ghost Emperor of the 5 Directions, ordinary people cannot see such a being. And now. However, Shen Jian stretched out his hand to her and told her that the underworld must be hers. This kind of attention made her feel a little frightened. Yes, Po Meng, the messenger who guides you on the road to death, must live up to your expectations. Meng Po Chuangsu said. A posture of devoting oneself to one's best, even to the point of death. The fire in her eyes told Shen Jian, she was on fire and was ready to invest in the construction of the underworld and shine. See it? A satisfied smile appeared on Shen Jian's face. Po Meng gathered them together, and the last thing left was the Sanshung stone. 3 lives and 100 is located in the Buddhist kingdom where Luo Fengtian is located in the 4th place. He only needs to make one more trip to disturb the Buddha kingdom, and the 6 paths of reincarnation can be completely unlocked. By then, he obtained the status of Emperor Fengdu and became the legitimate lord of the underworld. The underworld officially comes to the world, sending the dead souls into reincarnation and reincarnation. The human world can also stabilize the situation and drive away the horror game completely. Kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Everyone has a bright future. Very nice. Shen Jian's smile did not diminish, he patted Po Meng on the shoulder, and said as if he was asking for money, very good, I am very optimistic about you. Leading the messenger is not your end. I can sit in the position of the king of hell. If he can sit, you must also sit. Now I give you the first task of returning to the underworld. Collect the authority of Luo Fengtian here and give it to me. This is my trust in you, do you understand? I know Po Meng ate the big cake in a daze. Wait for her to react. Shen Jian was no longer where he was. The second temple master, Luo Fengtian, also disappeared. Faintly. She seemed to see the 2 people walking towards her pavilion of rebirth. It was Shen Jian who was holding the other side. It seems. The relationship between the 2 seems to be profound. But then she thought about it, one was the lord of the underworld, and the other was a local ghost from a mere horror world. Although they were the oldest believers in supernatural beings, the gap between their identities was huge. She must have misjudged them.